Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to present you the research article entitled Predictive Value of the Combined Triglyceride, Glucose, and Frailty Index for Cardiovascular Disease and Stroke in two prospective cohorts, authored by Zhao et al. My presentation will focus on the method section of this article and will be divided into 5 sections. In the first section, I'm going to give you a brief overview of the study design. In the second section, I'm going to introduce you to observational cohort studies. The analytical sample used in this article was derived from these 2 studies. In the third section, I'm going to get you familiarized with the binary response variable, the main predictor, and the covariates in this article. In the fourth section, I'm going to talk about weighting and the representativeness of the study, the analytical sample. Finally, in the last section, I'm going to discuss descriptive statistics and regression modeling performed in this article. So the author applied the same inclusion and exclusion criteria to both cohorts. Specifically, participants need to be aged 45 years or older. They should not have a pre-existing stroke or cardiovascular disease. And if the participants have missing data on triglyceride or glucose, they would not be eligible for this analysis. The final sample sizes of the trials and NHANES cohorts were 5,448 and 1,139 respectively. The author further divided the final analytical sample into 4 quantiles. So in our class, we have used the data from NHANES studies extensively. So I'm not going to introduce this study here. Instead, we will focus on the trials study, which is a nationally representative longitudinal survey, and it targeted middle-aged and older adults aged 45 years or older in China. It was designed to capture health and economic dynamics within the Chinese population. In addition, this study included demographic information, physical health assessments, cognitive tests, biomarkers, and socioeconomic indicators. So for the analysis in this article in particular, the binary response variable was the incidence of cardiovascular disease, CVD, and stroke. The main predictor of interest was the combined triglyceride glucose index and frailty index. So the author basically multiplied these 2 indices together, to derive a combined composite index. Covariates included demographic characteristics, clinical measurements, lifestyle factors, and medical histories of the participants. As for weighting and representativeness of the analytical sample, in the trials cohort, a multi-stage stratified sampling design was used with probability proportion to population size and post-stratification at the provincial level. And for the NHANES cohort, all the analysis in this study incorporated the appropriate survey weights, stratification, and the primary sampling unit variables specified in the guideline of the NHANES study. As for statistical analysis, descriptive statistics were used to summarize the baseline demographic and clinical characteristics of the study population. Specifically, means and standard deviation were used to describe the central location and spread of the distribution of a continuous variable. And frequencies and percentages were used to summarize the categorical variables. For group comparisons, namely the group of participants who had the CVD and the stroke, and versus the group of participants without CVD and stroke, a one-way ANOVA test was used to assess the crude association of the incidence of these two diseases with a continuous covariate. Although I think two-sample unpaired t-test or its non-parametric counterpart can also be used. And they also applied the chi-square test of independence to evaluate the crude association of the incidence of these two diseases and with a categorical covariate. Missing data was handled by complete case analysis in this article. As for modeling, regression modeling, multivariable logistic regression was used to evaluate the adjusted association of the incidence of CVD and stroke with the combined triglyceride, glucose, and frailty indices. Multicollinearity were assessed using the variance inflation factors, BIF. Although I think they should have used the generalized version of VIF, because VIF is used for linear regression. And those highly correlated covariates were removed from the final multivariable logistic regression model. So they also performed stratified subgroup analysis based on the variables such as sex, smoking status, hypertension, and etc. Thank you for your attention.